we'll be taking a look at the team that the best 11 from the quarterfinals. So how did Nigeria get into the semi-final? I want us to run through this quickly. Nigeria, remember the first match was against Equatorial Guinea. They settled for 1-1 draw. Ivory Coast versus Nigeria. The Super Eagles got a 1-0 win, and against Guinea-Bissau it was a 1-0 win for the Super Eagles, and then they got a 2-0 win against the Indomitable Lions, and that was in the round of 16. And then 1-0 win against Angola in the quarterfinals. That is all about the Super Eagles. So against South Africa, remember they will be playing South Africa in the semi-finals. So how did Bafana get here? Their first match, they lost to Mali. 2-0 was the final score. They got a 4-0 win against their neighbors Namibia, and then the final match in the group stage was against Tunisia. They settled for a barren draw. In the round of 16, they got a 2-0 win against Morocco, who were the favorites of the tournament, and then in the quarterfinals, they got a 2-1 win. They settled for a barren draw. They went to penalties where they won 2-1 with Rowan Williams saving 4 penalties. That is all about South Africa in this tournament. Now, the other semi-final will see DR Congo take on Ivory Coast. So how did DR Congo get into the semi-finals? Their first match, they settled for 1-1 draw against Zambia. The second match, 1-1 draw against Congo, and then against Morocco, and then a barren draw against Tanzania. They never got to win in the group stage, but they qualified to the round of 16 where they met Egypt, settled for 1-1 draw, and then won 8-7 on penalties. And then in the quarterfinals, it was a massive 3-1 win against Guinea. That is about Congo. Now, the hosts, the Elephants of Ivory Coast, their first match was a 2-0 win against Guinea-Bissau, then a 1-0 win against, they lost to Ivory Coast, Nigeria. 1-0 was the final score. They lost massively, 4-0 to Equatorial Guinea, but they proceeded to the round of 16 as best losers, where they settled for 1-1 draw against the defending champion Senegal, but won on penalties 5-4. So their last match was a 2-1 win in the quarterfinals against Mali. A very, very interesting result and match that we had right there. So those are the 4 teams currently in the tournament as we speak. Ivory Coast, they will be taking on DR Congo, and Nigeria will be taking on South Africa. So right about now, I'm joined by Cedric Msumba. Good afternoon, Cedric. How are you doing?
Good afternoon, Robinson.
I've quickly run through the journey of the 4 teams that are in the semi-finals. I mean, which one impressed you the most in this journey to the to the semi-finals?
Actually, you have painted a picture of very, very tight route towards semi-final or semi-finals that we are expecting to be gracing coming on Wednesday. And it tells you how hard this tournament has been. Because you see the likes of Nigeria. Nigeria is a team that actually has really accumulated the draws before it reaches where it is.
So can we go back to Nigeria? Let's take a look at that journey for Nigeria as Cedric takes us through this. And it's the team that has the best defense so far. If you take a look at, how they've been performing.
It is, after facing a scare from their game number 1, where Equatorial Guinea almost actually came out victorious in that particular match. They settled for a draw. It was a hard-fought kind of a draw. You can't just say that it was an easy way of walking through the park for Nigerians.
They actually equalized late on, Nigeria.
And remember, Equatorial Guinea actually came out of that particular group as an unbeaten team. It ended up not being beaten by any team, and it was quite challenging for this tournament final until when it bolted out in the round of 16. If you see this particular group where Nigeria and the route Nigeria has taken to be where it is, it tells you a solid defensive team, a team that is here with a purpose, and it knows what is actually required to be in a tournament, because it has only conceded 1 goal and it has been grinding points by a margin of either 1 or 2 goals. It's only against Cameroon, which, and again, all of us, we saw Cameroon as a whipping team of the tournament. And Nigeria took actually that particular advantage by placing 2 goals behind the nets of Cameroon. But it has been a so tight kind of route to get Nigeria where it is. It tells you either if Nigeria can focus on their defensive solidity, they can manage to either happen to be in final or maybe end up winning this particular tournament.
So basically, are you saying Nigeria are going to win this?
Yeah, it's so tight that we cannot really place a card, because we have seen underdogs trouncing in this tournament. We still have they're so touted as underdog. Because South Africa since 1996, since 2000 up to now, it has never been where it is currently.
Yes.
And it tells you it actually fits into the shoes of underdogs. Similarly, DRC, I think in 1973, 73, they have never again been final.
Yes.
They are still the underdogs. And this has been the tournament of underdogs. If we go by how underdogs actually have been playing, and they are underdogs on paper, but the teams these teams are presenting, they are no longer fits into the shoes of underdogs. The likes of DRC, and you can tell the kind of player the DRC has presented these tournaments and how they have been actually grinding. Similarly, just like Nigeria, they came out of their group stages without winning any given match. And it tells you how tight those groups were. Where they are right now, they are not there just by a fluke. They are there through the virtue of hard work.
Yes, sir, through the virtue of hard work. Now, Cedric, there have been players in this tournament that have impressed, young players that have actually made a big name for themselves in this tournament. These are players that probably we didn't expect to see them take Africa by storm. Let's begin by Lamine Camara for Senegal. I mean, he plays his club football in Metz, but we've seen what he can do. He has two goals in the tournament. Yes, they are out, but we saw some sparks of a future big African star.
It's beautiful to see Africa actually starting gracing such a big tournaments using youngsters. And I think it has been a tournament of youngsters, more so from West Africa countries. The likes of Guinea, the likes of Mali, as you put it, have the likes of Gambia, Mauritania, and even equally Senegal. They actually presented young players that have been so fireworks in this particular tournament. And either they are out of the tournament with a goal or some fluidity and flair that has really impressed our minds. You are talking about the likes of Lamine Camara. These are kind of a player who really silently come into this particular tournament, very silently. No one actually had talked about him. But remember their back, as in the background and where they were coming from. It's a player actually who graced under 17, and he was so key in that particular tournament. He again went ahead gracing under 20, and he played very. I think he was player of the tournament in that particular. Here he came to Africa Cup of Nations knowing that if I can really manage all those strides, what is just Africa Cup of Nations? They have seen the precedent that has been set before by the likes of Eto'o in 2000. A young player coming and really trouncing the tournament. Here it was actually his turn to come and try emulate such kind of, and he wasn't there to disappoint us. We saw what he did. Placing some beautiful goals behind the net. Being said, it's so quite unfortunate that the team is out, but we have seen in the tournament what he can and what he can present to us. Maybe moving forward has inspired a lot youngsters that did not actually regress the tournament.
Kamori Doumbia for Mali, 20 years of age, again plays in France for Brest. He was the man of the match in their tie against Tunisia. This, for Lamine Camara, their first match for Senegal in the tournament, he was the man of the match.
I think he need to be recalled back by, I think, Reims. He's on Brest on loan. Is a player whom I kept on referring to like a ball carrier. Being placed in between the midfield and the striking offensive midfielders. Actually, he was playing behind Lassine Siniayoko and Adama Traore. And you remember, these are the trick star kind of equally young players that were just placed in front of him. Him being so young and emulating whoever that were playing in front of him and producing that kind of sparks that we are talking about, he needed to rise to occasion. And ask yourself who are just behind him, the likes of Haidara, the likes of Koulibaly, the likes of Doumbia. These are the players who are supplying him with the ball. And he did not disappoint because he literally destroyed Ivory Coast midfield. I tell you for free, if Mali was to carry, the form that it was into the semi-final. These were the cog to place the ball behind. It's quite unfortunate they didn't manage to score, but they were playing so good, so-called beautiful and sex soccer in that particular match. And you could literally admire this youngster carrying the ball and supplying to the striking force and trying also to destroy the opponents, whom and again we referred to one of the giants of Africa.
Omar Diakite, we've seen what he's done for Ivory Coast in the tournament. He's one of the most promising players that we have in Africa at the moment.
Funny enough, these youngsters that are really shining in this particular tournament, apart from, there's only one player, I think it was from Guinea.
We have Agbu Kamara from Guinea, who's 22 years old.
The only defender. The remaining players are wingers and midfielders. It tells you, majority of African players, they like actually bringing creativity. And the backbone of soccer, the soccer that everyone will want to sit down and watch, culminates from midfield. And this is a kind of Diakite. Anytime this player could actually hang or latch on a ball, anyone was seeing a danger in the feet of opponent, because he's a kind of a player who was so spark enough on the on ball. He could dribble enough. He could actually travel and transverse through midfield and try to bring those dangerous crosses. I hear any given time this guy would get the ball, you are just expecting to see either a striker latching on the ball or the ball maybe traveling across the goal. And that's a kind of a winger that you need. He's so tricky and equally 20 years, which means he still has a very long way ahead of him to go. If he continue like that, maybe you're going to see him in playing in big leagues like La Liga and maybe EPL.
You have Simon Adingra, the Brighton midfielder.
I don't know if he come to this tournament with an injury. I expected him to start from the onset. But funny enough, he was not started by the previous coach who again resigned from the tournament. But here he comes when any time he has come from the bench, we saw the Adingra that we have associated with at Brighton. Anytime he came in, actually he would literally change out the topography of the game. He would actually bring in all the angles and the midfield creativity that is needed. And you would see Ivory Coast moving ball forward.
He's also contributing in terms of goals.
Yeah, he has scored. And he's the one who has taken this particular team to a semi-final. Remember when it was so tight enough that no one would break that deadlock. He come and that fast and trying to really read the game very fast and being so fast and quick to latch on balls is what made him actually to play that ball behind the net. If not him, Ivory Coast will not be celebrating right now. I think maybe guys would have resorted not to grace any given
remaining two matches.
Yeah.
Yes, and the other, of course, youngsters that have impressed in this tournament, you have Django Ouattara for Burkina Faso, Aigbu Kamara for Guinea, and Ibrahim Diakite for Guinea. Django Ouattara, of course, 21 years of age, plays for Bournemouth in the English Premier League. He's shown us what he can do. Aigbu Kamara for Guinea, he plays in Greece, and then you have Ibrahim Diakite, who plays, of course, Guinea, the national team, and Reims in France. What do you say of these youngsters? You know, the two have been in the two games that Guinea has played. They've picked man of the match in different games in this tournament.
You know, there's one angle thing that I would like to share with our viewers. And I know we like following our players whenever they are trading outside this particular continent. We have followed Victor Wanyama, we know we followed Oliech. Right now we have Joseph Okumu trading with this young lad at Reims. And at any given time when this guy is back at the country in France, you will see him pairing with Joseph Okumu, that particular centre back, at the age of 20 years. It tells you that the talent this guy is inspiring in Kenya, if this guy can really pair with Joseph Okoma at 26 and 20 to really stop the likes of Neymar when they were still piling for PSG, the likes of Mbappe, it tells you there is nothing that actually stops a young player to grace such bigger tournaments like Africa Cup of Nations. And we have seen that value. And it is not necessarily this only player that, these are the few that we have highlighted. I think Africa Cup of Nations has been marked by so many youngsters and quite impressive that we cannot really stop talking about.
So Cedric, I want us to take a look at the best 11 from the quarterfinals. This is the best 11 that we picked. So you'll be taking us through this and why they deserve to be here. From the goalkeeper, that is Rowan Williams. Then you have Semi Ajayi, Chancel Mbemba, Truste Kong, Aubrey Modiba, Sami Mutusami, Teboho Mokoena, Moses Simon, Seko Fofana, Yohan Wissa, and Victor Osimhen.
This is a team that actually did some damage in the round of 16. And as you guys say, that if the team is winning, why change a winning team? You need just to retain a winning team, not unless anything happens, maybe a team hit by an injury, or maybe a player just brings some element of indiscipline in the squad. And I might say, maybe indiscipline has made some player to be actually relegated to bench in this particular team. And in that case, I would say that I've relegated Hamara Traore and brought in Sami Ajayi, simply because of some indiscipline cases that we experienced at the end product of the match. You see him actually trying to bring some altercation with the center referee that culminated for him getting a red card, and which automatically knocks him out from my squad. You can't play a player who is carrying some negative energy in the team. It might end up actually being a rotten potato that can spoil the entire team. But equally, these are rig and pressing kind of format that I've still maintained. Remember, I like watching beautiful soccer. And I told you, I like also seeing ball carriers in that particular team. Modiba, we talked about him, what he can do, but he was somehow disappointing in their last match because he didn't do the necessary that I have associated him with, carrying the ball and supplying with the defender. And maybe it was a tactic not to go forward and open up the gap simply because of the kind of the team they were facing. You can see the sake of Trustekon, one of the best defensive
defenders in the tournament
in the tournament. And we can actually bank on that basing on the kind of the goals they have soaked in. Only one goal in the tournament. Moving forward with such kind of form, Nigeria will be celebrating. Chancellor Mbemba, after conceding a penalty, you saw what he did. He's actually a team leader. And you can see what he did. After conceding a penalty, he went ahead and cancelled that particular negative attitude that people would have associated him with. And he continued actually urging the team. He ended up winning 3 goals against 1. The same thing, we have the likes of Teboho Mukoena, one of the creative midfielder, but he was so low, and it might be the same case like what happens to Modiba. Because of the team they were facing, they needed to actually tactically sit back and not to transit a lot because they didn't want to open up gaps for the opponent to run balls around and maybe make damage to their team. Sami Mutusami, one of the defensive destroyer, and we have seen what actually DRC is anchoring on. This is a kind of a player who plays for the badge. He knows how to carry the balls and destroy midfield and make midfield that's quite open for any other player to run around, and that creativity brings in. And that also allows the transiting of the ball from the defense to the strikers, whereby the likes of Wissa, the likes of Seko Fofana, and Moses Simon will be enjoying now to bring the damage that the opponents should not like to see. And talking about that damage, the person that will have to enjoy most, but we haven't seen him enjoying most, he has actually turned to be a supply instead of a striker, is Victor Osimhen. Where he's so boxed tight that he doesn't have the space to shoot, he has actually turned back to provide. And I think that's the best mentality you can do, because everyone will think that you being a number 9, your role is just to score. But also what they don't think that because you are being touted so much and you become so dangerous, also the opponent are really planning for you on how to stop you from advancing and really bringing that damage from their course. Now, you need to be so creative enough and try to reduce that kind of mentality by getting those balls right. They are coming to you, but supplying with the likes of Wissa, the likes of Seko Fofana, and the likes of Simon, whom we have seen so dangerous if it comes to the forward attacking line. Remember, they are offensive midfielders who and equally becomes goal poachers where their number 9 fails to put those balls behind the net.
So, this is the best 11 for Cedric from the quarterfinals. Remember, he has Rowan Williams saved 4 penalties in that tie between South Africa and Cape Verde. You have Aubrey Modiba for South Africa, Ekong for DRC, and then Semi Ajayi for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. In midfield, you have Sami Tusami for DRC, Teboho Mokoena for the Bafana, the boys, and then you have Moses Simon for Nigeria, Seko Fofana for Ivory Coast, Yohan Wissa for Congo, and Victor Osimhen for Nigeria. This is the best 11 for Cedric from the quarters. Now, let's take a look at some of the stats from the tournament so far. Cedric, the top scorers list hasn't changed so far. Emilio Nsue exited the tournament at the round of 16, still has 5 goals. Then you have Dala with 4 goals. Mustafa Mohamed left long time ago, 4 goals. Ademola Lukman still in the tournament, 3 goals. Baghdad Buneja left in the group stage, still 3 goals. Do you see this probably changing? That each team in the tournament so far has 2 games left, semi-final and the final.
Actually, as the things pans out, I literally see this figure changing at any given time. Because as the tournament actually advance to final, it becomes so tight and tighter. Teams are also becoming so tactical, and they are trying to stop any given strikers from pounding goals behind their nets. And this has actually what has made from the round of 16 to up to where we are, goals that has actually been scored to be so, that margin so very low. I see Nsue was so lucky actually to get all those goals in the group stages, and he can as well be recalled back when guys are celebrating at the end of the tournament to come and
pick his golden ball.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, the top assists, the people that have provided the most in the tournament. You have Alfredo Ribeiro, Freddy for Angola. You have Kevin Kudu for Cameroon. You have Jose Machine Combo, Sadio Mane, Ismail Sarr. This probably I don't see it changing. Probably
Yeah, of course,
the players left in the tournament.
Majority of the
yes.
team have already gone.
Yes.
Have Angola, Cameroon, almost Sadio Mane, Senegal,
Ismail Sarr, Senegal out.
They have already gone. Nothing is changing here, but credit should be given to them. More so, Freddy, as he's known actually by the
for
team,
Angola.
For Angola,
yes.
Simply because no one actually counted on him before the tournament. He came here into this particular tournament and has left the mark. Moving forward, maybe his name will be inked on papers as one of the best assist midfielders in the tournament that was graced in 2023.
Yes, aside from assists, let's take a look at some team statistics. The team, Cedric, which has had the most shots on goal in this tournament is none other than DR Congo. Now, they've had 49 shots, 18 of which have been on target.
You know, this makes me smile.
Yes.
Because my tournament is simply not over. You know, since actually Senegal and Morocco were eliminated from the tournament, I had no one to launch to.
Yes.
But here, I got actually some new grounds. And this is the DRC. People might be talking that DRC has been actually getting draws that has made them to be where it is. But also look at the chances this team is creating. Creating 49 chances and hitting 18 chances on target, it tells you a team that is really competitive, a team that is looking for goals, and is now facing, in the semi-final, it will now facing Ivory Coast.
Yes.
That we know it's so porous if it comes to their defense.
Yes.
You get a team that is so offensive, it will reduce Ivory Coast actually to try things, and which Mali did not actually scout out.
Yes.
Because if Mali could have known that the best way to attack, as in to defend Ivory Coast is to attack,
yes,
then Ivory Coast will not have been even equalized.
Yes, Mali, of course, with 18 shots on target. South Africa, they have 27, Cape Verde 20, and Egypt 18. These are the teams which have the most shots on target. Thank you very much, Cedric Musumba, for giving us insights on some of the young players that have impressed during this tournament, and your team from the quarterfinals. We'll be looking forward to the semi-finals on Wednesday.